All right. So you know that India banned TikTok, UC browser, UC browser,
Hmm.
and a bunch of other Chinese apps recently, right? Or that was already maybe half a year ago. And
I think just they begins on March last year, maybe.
oh yeah, okay, okay.
Yes.
Well, it looks like the ban is going to go on for a longer time. So they've kind of just solidified, they've cemented this ban, and I'm surprised by this in a couple of ways. For one, I didn't really expect India to be banning Chinese apps earlier, um,
Hmm.
and that happened. Another thing is that it turns out to be a lot easier for countries to ban apps than I thought it would be. So I thought that the Great Firewall of China was very hard to construct and to maintain, and that China could do it because they've been practicing this and they've been doing it for a while. And I didn't know that other countries could do it so easily. But when that dispute came out with India, and India decided, uh, they want to punish China basically by shutting down some apps. India did it right away. It didn't take them long to figure this out. And I guess that the result is that the apps are not available on app stores, and maybe the traffic to and from the apps can be blocked as well. So the users could still get around this, though. They could use a VPN. They could get the if they're Android users, they could get the APK file directly from the websites of these Chinese apps and get around it that way. But that's a hassle for a lot of people, and still a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Hmm. So I think I found a new trend. We used to talk about the globalization, but now I think each country is blocking themselves.
Yeah.
So just take the two example, India and the United States. So the USA trying to ban WeChat and TikTok, and even trying to ban other apps, and they build a wall. They build an
Hmm.
actual wall to for their country. And for India, they are also trying to ban like 57 other Chinese apps, including TikTok, UC, which others probably like 60 apps. Um, but I don't really see why they're doing it, despite they have a trend right here. For people who have heavy needs in China to do marketing, or they just need those apps, I mean, they will figure out a way, or they will just find a replacement applications to do it.
Let me start with a new idea here. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Up to this point, the way that some companies have to view their marketing across different countries is that there's two main zones. There is China, that is the biggest market for a lot of them, and then there
Mhm.
is the rest of the world. And in the rest of the world fits USA, all their platforms, like mostly American platforms, right? And everybody else that is on that system as well. So it includes Canada and Australia and France and India and Brazil and all these different places. But
Mhm.
now it's starting to splinter, where more countries are going to have different environments. They'll have their own apps, they'll have their own websites, and it might
Mhm.
become really difficult for marketing organizations to figure things out. Because now, like maybe there is a company that let's say they're doing their promotions on TikTok. Well, okay, so
Mhm.
they do it on TikTok, they do it on Douyin in China, then maybe something
Mhm.
else in India will arise that is just a lot like that, and then they'll have to do it for that too. And then maybe other
Yeah.
countries, especially big countries, Russia, big countries are going to make their own systems and their own apps, and it's just going to get really difficult to coordinate all of that. I think this is one possible thing that could happen.
Mhm. I think we can say something about those apps. Actually, the most important factor for those companies is actually the user's data. How a user using this app, so
Yeah.
they will just promote different type of information to the users, and that's just how like Douyin works and TikTok works. So I think we can put a point in there. Probably the reason we can share another like counterpoint of view the reason those countries are banning apps is because they don't want China to have control of how their citizens think or how their citizens share knowledge.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings me to one other point. Just something I was thinking about. You know,
Hmm.
Trump was banned from Twitter,
Hmm.
right? And I was wondering
Yeah.
who else might care? Like, what other people might care about this that isn't so obvious? And one of the things I was wondering is what other politicians might be worried about this? Because what other politicians use Twitter a lot and they need it to communicate with people? And it's not just Americans, it's also like Indian and from any place in the world. Like, I looked up the top uh, Twitter politicians, like the most followed Twitter politicians. And
Hmm.
the number two guy, I can't read his name really, but Narendra Modi, I think that's the Prime Minister of India. He's a number two after Trump. So
Yeah.
now he's number one, I guess, right? He might not like this, that Twitter could just cut him out. And I think he's going to be going to them and trying to get control of that situation too. And
But
there's a lot of different players here. People, politicians, or people with political influence all around the world might take issue with Twitter and these platforms and want to control it themselves. This is going to be a big battle between. It already is, but it's a big battle between different
mm,
companies, people, and countries that all want to have
yeah.
their share of the pie, that all want to control data in a certain way.
Okay. I think the reason for this happening to Trump is because the Twitter said, based on their policies, Trump is actually asking people or trying to getting people into a chaos situation where he get a lot of his followers to the
Yeah,
Capitol building,
yeah,
and then they just become like a sort of war. But that's not the case for like Modi. That's might not happening, or maybe that's going to happen in the future, but at least not right now. And based on Twitter's policy, Trump already got warning for 1 day, so where when he can't really post anything. So they said if you violate those policy one more time in Twitter, you will got banned.
yeah.
Mm, it's
Yeah.
just,
You're
I mean,
thinking
it's
about
hard to say.
you're
Like
thinking
those
about this
companies,
like a citizen. These politicians, I don't think they're going to think about it in that way. They want to have control, and this the politicians that are across the world, they're not going to let these platforms have all that control. It's going to break up.
yeah, I mean, this is a battle between the people who are standing behind Twitter and a battle behind those politicians. So take China as a counterexample. In China, this is not going to happen. There's no companies going to overrule the government. The government is actually having all authority to ban any app or
Yeah.
ban any company. Even as Alipay, you're so huge, so big, you have $1 billion. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. I can ban you at any time. But that is not happening in US.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
biggest platform in the world, Twitter, is banning the president of the United States. That's
Yeah.
just, I still take that as a big job because like how you should ban people's Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different policy in different country. And when we think about those applications in the world, like Twitter, Facebook, if they can ban Trump today, they can ban anyone tomorrow, like
Mm-hmm.
anyone else, everyone else.
Yeah, but not forever because these policies are going to come out. I don't know what the exact policy is going to be, but somebody from India or another country, they're going to tell Twitter, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, you guys can be here, but you have to give us $2 billion deposit, and if you silence our politicians in a way that we don't like, or you delete the content we don't want to, we take that money. Or that's just an example. I don't know about how the details of these things would possibly work. The point is they're going to take some control.
I think
And
for now they might not, but that's might be something gonna happen in the future.
yeah,
This country will say, okay, you're gonna put a deposit, or we're gonna set some regulations. If you violate those rules, if you just silent one of the politician or you ban the account, we will take that money from you, or you will never be able to do the survey, or you can't be download in my country. Take like Indian to ban China apps as an example. If China,
Mm.
Indian can ban those TikTok, you say WeChat, they can ban Twitter. It's just nothing hard.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was the point of this whole thing? I started off with India banning apps. I guess the point is that we're expecting a more fragmented environment for brands and marketers. We're
Yes,
expecting
so
that in
that's
the coming
reason.
years.
Yeah, I've been saying that the globalization has been years in here, but why the people just all of a sudden starting to anti-globalization,
Mm.
the banning apps, the avoiding people to communicate with other countries. Like, why is that?